If the Tennessee Titans want a Christmas victory, it'll be Mason Rudolph that has to guide them to it. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans. Today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. On today's episode, we're going over the game plan for how the Titans can beat the Indianapolis Colts and get a Christmas win. We are going to start with my keys to victory. I'll tell you what I'm looking for from the team from a big picture standpoint. Then we'll dive into some of the players to watch in this game. Of course, Mason Rudolph will have to guide the Titans to the victory. And then I'll give my predictions for this game, my game and score prediction, who wins, some fantasy, some gambling, all of that. Before we get into it, do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And shout out to my everydayers out there. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. As a reminder, I will be going live immediately after the game ends on Sunday to break down all the action. It's going to be a big offseason here on the Locked On Titans podcast. So make sure, again, that you get subscribed, stay subscribed on whatever platform you do tune in. But with that being said, as we always do, let's start with my keys to victory for this game plan episode. And number one on the list, look, we're going to talk Mason Rudolph. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans offense is under the microscope. And this game means a lot for Brian Callahan, and that'll have to come down to him making sure his offense gets the job done. But I do got to start my first key to victory on defense. And at the end of the day, it's something that has been an issue for the Titans all season long, and it is the mobile quarterback run game. Throughout the entire season, the Tennessee Titans have struggled when there has been a quarterback that can be a part of the run game, whether it be literally designed run game, like we'll see from the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson, or whether it be scrambling ability. After the play breaks down, the Titans have struggled most of the season with that. I think even games recently, like Drake May and Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels, like Joe Burrow was giving the Titans problems with the missed sacks. And I believe there was a game early in the season, Caleb Williams gave the Titans some problems with missed sacks, and that was an issue with Malik Willis as well. I mean, throughout the entire season, you go on and on and on. The Titans have struggled with mobile quarterbacks. So if the Titans don't stop or at least hold down the run game with Anthony Richardson involved, they're going to be in trouble. And I'm going to talk more about this when I get to my players to watch this week, because I got some players who are going to be heavily involved in this process. But if the Titans allow the Colts, look, you want Anthony Richardson to throw the ball. He's a 50% completion percentage guy this year. His accuracy on a down-to-down basis is absolutely hideous. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to let the Colts run the ball down your throat and get third and short situations where they can run schemed up plays to get the ball out of his hands quick that he's comfortable with. Think about like jet sweeps and things like that. Or if you get into third and short, then they can go to the quarterback run game. They can run those read options, that quarterback power, a quarterback draw. They can do all those things. So you make it really, really easy for Anthony Richardson if you don't get him into third and long situations and force him to be more of a passer than a runner. So if the Titans are just completely susceptible to Anthony Richardson in the Colts run game with Jonathan Taylor, they're going to be in trouble from start to finish. And there's not much the Titans are going to be able to do. And then they'll get red zone opportunities. And with the quarterback run in the red zone, it's already deadly, let alone with the Titans issues against it specifically. So it's just going to be a nightmare of a night if the Titans don't really devote a plan to stopping the run game of the Colts that includes the +1 quarterback game. But outside of that, we do get to the Titans offensive side of the ball. And for me, it's something that, you know, my guy Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts talked about yesterday. The Colts have been susceptible to the quick, short passing game. They're not a team that tackles very well. They tend to back off and give space. That's exactly what Mason Rudolph wants to do. So if Mason Rudolph is going to have success for the Titans, it's going to be get the ball out quick. Don't worry about the pass rush. dink and dunk your way down the field and hope that Tony Pollard can get a couple of big plays in the run game. Like Mason Rudolph so far this year has not been a guy who's hit things downfield very often. He's hit a couple of passes here and there. I can think of the slot fade to Calvin Ridley for about 20 yards against Detroit. Like it hasn't been a big play factory with Mason Rudolph. And that's what we expect. I talked about it earlier this week when Will Levis was first reportedly getting benched. It was like, okay, here's the difference in these guys as players. You're not going to get the explosive play potential that you have with a guy with a live arm like Will Levis. Now, Mason Rudolph doesn't have a noodle arm like some people like to act like, but he's definitely more of a guy who's catered to the quick, get the ball out of your hands, find the hole in the zone. He's not a guy who you want to drive the ball down the field consistently with. You want to make it easier. And he's a guy who's not, in theory, going to make as many mistakes consistently as Will Levis, so you won't have the turnovers and things like that. Although I will say, I think that Mason Rudolph lends himself to some turnovers as well. He's not squeaky clean. Like some people people like to act like he has a noodle arm and that he's, completely squeaky clean, never makes mistakes. And it's not quite that, if we're honest. It's kind of, a mixture of two different ways of thinking about those two different topics. But if Mason Rudolph doesn't have success with that quick timing passing game, the Tennessee Titans are going to be all out of sorts on offense because they're not going to get the explosive plays that can kind of make up for that. Now, the final thing that I want to mention here as a key to victory for me is something that has been pushed to the back burner in recent weeks. I think when we looked at the team from about the Washington Commanders game on, the conversation has turned from the special teams harping, and which it deserves all of the hate that it's gotten this year. Special teams and special teams coordinator Colt Anderson, I still think the Titans need to make a change there in the offseason, but the special teams has gotten better, okay? It has improved, even if incrementally they're not, and yes, the bar is low. I'm not going to pretend like the bar isn't low. All we want is don't get punts blocked. Don't give up 50-yard punt and kick returns every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. Like, just don't do – that's how I feel about the offense, too. Like, just don't do the dumbest of the dumb things, and we might be fine. Don't throw pick sixes. Don't fumble all the time. Don't stare down defenders or stare down your receiving options and throw right into a zone that's not even remotely open for you to throw this route to. Like, just don't do the dumbest stuff possible. And for some reason, for most of the season, the Tennessee Titans have done the dumbest thing possible on special teams and on offense. So what the Titans can't do in this game with a, let's in theory say, a less dumb potential offense and an offense for the Colts that's not a world beater by any means. What the Titans cannot do is revert back to their special teams blunders. I don't even want the Titans to win the special teams battle. Just don't epically lose it. That is all that I'm asking for, is just don't have the special teams gaffes that have killed you in other games. What the Titans are trying to do right now is eliminate problems. Will Levis, turnovers, problem. Special teams, big gaffes, problem. And Brian Callahan is betting that if we just eliminate the stupid shoot yourself in the foot moments, I'm going to get wins and prove that I'm a good head coach. That's what it really comes down to. So we'll see if they can do all of that. They haven't been able to do it for most of the season, but we're going to zoom in, look at some players to watch, and I'm going to make my prediction for who wins this game as well. It's Locked On Titans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the most fun way to play daily fantasy sports, period. I love Prize Picks because it's just so easy and so much fun. That's why they have over 10 million members and billions of dollars, yes, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a chance to win up to 100. Wow. Prize Picks has outdone themselves. They have gone up from 100, up from 200 to 1,000 times your cash. Again, all you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players. Jared Goff, more than 230 passing yards. Saquon Barkley, more than 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce, more than 70 receiving yards. That's it. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by the College Football Playoff on TNT. It's that time of year again, folks. The College Football Playoff is back. And with their newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all of the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT's sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff Kickoff Show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and on Max. Titans fans, let's continue today's game plan edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Can't believe it's already week 16. Honestly, I'm okay with how fast it's gone, with how the season has gone. But nonetheless, we talked about our keys to victory for the Titans. Stop the quarterback run game. Do well in the short timing passing game. No special teams errors. If the Titans do all that, I do believe that they will get a victory in this game. Now, from a micro level, looking at some of the players to watch in this game, I'm going to go back to the quarterback position. Mason Rudolph is my number one player to watch in this game. Look, at the end of the day, this is a huge opportunity for Mason Rudolph. Not only to get a victory for the Titans, to lead the team, to show that, you can use him as a spot starter and ultimately as a backup. And what he's going to do is, if he proves that, he's going to extend his career. The more games you win, even if it's just 1 or 2 as a backup, you extend your career, because all teams are looking for is a guy that can come in and win a couple of games. That's what teams look for in a backup, because typically if you lose your starting quarterback, your season's over anyway. Like if you lose him for the whole year. But if you lose your starting quarterback for a week or 2 with an ankle sprain or something, you need a guy who can just hold you over, keep the ship afloat, win a game or 2, and just keep your season going without tanking it. Exactly what Malik Willis did for the Packers earlier this year. That is all you're looking for from a backup. So if Mason Rudolph can come out here and win a game, to go with the way he played in the Miami game, which was whatever, but then the Patriots game, like, he is going to extend his career and help the Titans get a win. But also, along with the stakes, like I mentioned earlier, if the Titans want to win the game, he's going to have to operate in that quick timing passing game and have success. The Titans are not a team that is built, generally speaking, no matter who's at quarterback, to rely on a ton of explosive plays. They just didn't come at a rapid enough rate. But with Will Levis, they came at least more than they would come with Mason Rudolph. So if you're not going to have 50-yard touchdown pass, 98-yard touchdown pass, 70-yard touchdown pass to Chigakonkwo, 30-yard gain on a big throw to NWI, like, if you're not going to have those big chunk plays in the passing game, then you have to be more precise. It's like cutting down a tree. If you're Thor, all it takes is a couple swings of an axe, and you're going to knock it down. But if you're not, you're going to have to be more precise so you don't waste a bunch of energy to make sure that you do more hits on the tree than Thor had to do to knock it down. You know what I mean? Like, so with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, him operating and being clean and not making turnovers, he's going to have to play nearly perfect in the game for the Titans to win. That's really where they're at. And then, of course, they'll rely on the run game some, but they're going to have to make plays in the passing game, and Mason Rudolph is going to have to operate very well. All the things that we want Mason Rudolph to do operationally. You know what I mean? Operate the offense, get the ball out on time, be accurate with your ball placement, don't turn the ball over. Like all of those things, he's going to have to do all of them. Because if he faults in any of those little areas, too many pre-snap penalties because his operation issues, ball isn't accurate on some of those short, keep the drive going, matriculate the ball down the field opportunities, he turns over the ball, then the Titans are just going to be right back where they've been with Will Levis for most of the year and right where they have been even with Mason Rudolph for most of the year, and that's not winning football games. So Mason Rudolph, by far, my number one player to watch for the Titans. But now we go to the defensive side of the ball. And I mentioned to you earlier the quarterback run game. Very, very important. A key to victory for me in this game, slowing down the run game and the quarterback run game of the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson. Well, when the running back goes up the middle, who is there to greet them? The interior defensive line, Jeffrey Simmons, T'Vondre Sweat, the linebackers, right? Middle linebackers. Well, what about when Anthony Richardson keeps the ball? What about when Anthony Richardson does a keeper and then throws a pass out to the slot wide receiver on an RPO? What about that? Who's going to make those plays? And that is where the Titans need to bow up. That is where the success needs to come from. So if the quarterback keeps the ball, the edges, Harold Landry, Arden Key, players to watch. You must win on the edge. In this game, you must set a firm edge. You must be disciplined against the quarterback run game. And then Roger McCreary back in the slot. McCreary's been a full participant 2 days in a row now. I expect him to be back and play in this game. Roger McCreary is the slot cornerback. You're going to be going up against a ton of 3 wide receiver looks from the Indianapolis Colts. That means the Titans are going to be in nickel instead of their base defense. And that means that Roger McCreary is going to have a tough task. He is going to have to come inside and be involved with stopping the traditional run game. He's going to have to come inside off the edge and help with the quarterback when he keeps it. And against the RPO game of the Colts, where they like to throw these quick, easy screens, these quick, easy slants right off of the run fake, Roger McCreary is going to have to be disciplined, guess correct, and then physically get up the field to defeat the blocker in front of him or tackle his man if his man is involved in the screen game. It is a very, very difficult matchup for your slot cornerback when you play against the Indianapolis Colts. Roger McCreary in his first game back, let's see if he can do it. So the edges, Harold Landry and Arden Key, and then Roger McCreary in slot. That is what I'm looking for on defense. If those guys play poorly, the Titans are going to struggle in this game. But I'm going to tell you exactly what I think the score ends up being in this game, how I would bet this game, and some fantasy stuff as well. It's Locked On Titans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, or my personal favorite, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, you can tune in wherever, plus you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's game plan edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans need a Christmas victory, and Mason Rudolph will have to guide them to it. We talked keys to victory, players to watch. Now I want to get into my predictions for the game. Who do I think is going to win? What do I think the score is going to be? Some gambling, some fantasy as well. Before I do, thanks again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Make sure you check out the Locked On NFL podcast for your second listen I host Locked On NFL, so you'd be supporting me as well and getting caught up on all of your NFL news. With that being said, though, looking at the score, sadly, I don't see the Titans winning this game. I think it'll be a close game. I do think it'll be a close game for sure. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the Titans can avoid the mistake. I think Mason Rudolph will have turnovers. He's not some turnover-free guy that people act like. He's going to have turnovers. I also think the Titans do make a mistake on special teams. Weird stuff happens in these division games, man. Weird bounces, weird plays, abnormal results. Like, that's what happens in division games because the teams know each other so well. It's always something weird and crazy that turns the tide in these games. And with the Titans' momentum as a team, with the Colts being at home, the Colts are just a better team than the Titans. You know, like, it's not like either are playoff teams, but the Colts are a better football team. They're at home. They might have better coaching as well. And that quarterback mobility really, really gives the Titans trouble. So I'm going to go with the Colts in this one, 23-20. I think it will be a close game, though. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's 20-17. Maybe it's 17-14, 17-13, something like that. I think it will be a close game, though, no matter what. If the Titans get blown out, Brian Callahan might want to pack some boxes or at least order some boxes from the box store or put a post on Facebook asking if anybody has empty boxes. Like, I really don't think that Amy Adams Strunk would fire him after 1 year, but at some point the embarrassments are going to take a toll. So he can't get blown out in this game. I've already said my biggest thing for this game, talked about it yesterday on the crossover episode. Like, it's more of a philosophical thing for the team, not the game itself. So it's not something that I've talked about today as we're game planning, but Will Levis getting benched is about Brian Callahan saving his job. Brian Callahan knows that if he continues to get embarrassed, he's going to be a one and done. He's going to get fired in 1 year. So when you bench Will Levis, what you are saying is, I'm a better coach than what it looks like right now. We're a better team than what it looks like right now. And the big problem was the young quarterback was messing up. So Brian Callahan is using these last 3 games to prove to his boss, Amy Adams Strunk, the controlling owner, hey, look, I can win with a backup quarterback. Our team is good enough. I know what I'm doing. We just devoted this season to the young quarterback, and it turns out we got our answer, and it wasn't the answer we wanted. That's not my fault. That's our plan's reality. So look at me with a backup quarterback. Go get 2 wins, beat the Colts, beat Jacksonville. God forbid they beat Houston at home in the Oilers throwbacks in front of Miss Amy. That is how you keep your job, because you prove that, hey, look, we could have won more games this year, but we all collectively agreed we got to get an answer on Will Levis. So we did that, and it cost us wins. That's not entirely on me. That's what this is about. Okay? So with that in mind, I think Brian Callahan may be trying to send that message, but I don't know if that is the right message. You know what I mean? I don't know if, hey, we were trying to develop Will and I'm a better coach. I don't know if that's true. So we're going to see, but I am just not banking on it. And I think in these big time moments, your biggest mistakes are what come back to haunt you. And I think that the coaching staff thinking they could make do with what they had at right tackle is going to hurt them. And I think that Brian Callahan continuing to employ Cole Anderson, it is what is going to doom him eventually. And his biggest mistakes on the year, his hubris with the right tackle position and his stubbornness with Cole Anderson, are going to be the biggest issues at the end of the day. So I think the Colts win the game. But time for keeping it plus 100. You look at the spread on FanDuel, it's plus 3.5. Started plus 4.5, I believe, and people have probably put money on the Titans. I do like the Titans plus 3.5. I think the game is going to be close. I think the Titans give it away at the end, but I think the game's going to be close, and at the end of the day, 3.5 points is typically a good number to roll with. So I like the Titans plus 3.5. The over-under, you guys know, I say this all the time. I hate over-unders. I'm scared of over-unders. I don't get them right very often. If I had to lean, I would lean the under. But, 23-20, that's 43. It would go over. So I don't know. I don't like over-unders. I'm out of that, but I do like the Titans plus the 3.5 points with the spread. But with that being said, the final thing I want to talk about here is my beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy player of the game. And I'm going to go with Chigakonkwo. I think the Colts are susceptible over the middle of the field. I think that the Titans are going to want to incorporate screen. They're going to want to hit short little passes where Chigakonkwo is sitting down in the zone. I think they've been really getting Chigakonkwo going on some of these crossing routes, these over routes on the play action bootlegs. I think Chigakonkwo could have a good, 4 catches, 75 yards, maybe get a touchdown this week. I think Chigakonkwo is my fantasy player of the week to watch. But with that being said, that is going to do it for this week 16 game plan episode. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, be an everydayer. If you aren't an everydayer, if you're watching on YouTube, throw a thumbs up on the video, throw a tighten up down in the chat, get subscribed, stay subscribed. But as always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.